Okay. Hold on one second. I'm going to share the agenda with you. Okay. So here's just the quick agenda. Autumn, was there anything on there you wanted to change or edit before I get going into this too much? I didn't know if
I added to it last night.
you did.
It did, so hopefully it's there. Let
I
me.
didn't make sure I didn't erase anything
Okay.
because I was working on it today. I don't think I did though. Okay, I'm going to start just with some quick updates to sort of let you guys in on this. Oh, by the way, let me just say this again. I am recording this. I figured out how to record it, so this. I'm going to make this available to everyone who wasn't able to come here. So just FYI, we're being recorded. Okay. So updates. First thing is our distinguished achievement in lighting award winner was we finally got Sunny Sonnefeld put through. Um, we we messed up the application. For those of you who haven't heard the full story, we didn't. Um, we sent in a nominating letter, and I sent in my commission letter, and we didn't send in a nominating letter. And then when we did send in a nominating letter, they didn't like the fact that it was from someone who's his business partner, which was Scott Parker. Um, so that delayed us getting approved for a while. But we've learned, and I think we'll definitely get better at that next year. But we finally got him through, but as many of you know, he did pass away recently. We're still going to do the session. Jennifer Tipton's going to come and accept the award. Scott's putting together sort of a retrospective of his life for people to come and talk to him. So we definitely want to get the word out to everybody that the session is still happening. Um, but so that's what's going on with DAA. The lighting studio was a new project we finally put into play. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while now, right?
We have.
Yeah. Something in addition to the light lab, something that would be more hands-on. So we put together a little proposal, and we'll basically ask for a room, and then they had said, "Well, what are you going to do in there?" And so we told them we wanted to put 4 or 5 uh, light boards in a room with some lights, and um, sorry, hold on one second, and give people time to sign up and where they can work and they can practice on some gear. And we got it going. We were going to try to find a sponsor. Ron from USITT was all gung ho, and he's like, "We'll find you a sponsor, and we'll do this and this and this." Well, come to find out, we didn't get any sponsors, and then we figured out it was going to cost a whole lot of money. Essentially, Drake at this conference, uh, even if somebody could have got it onto the floor and paid drage, we still would have had to pay drage to get it off of the show floor to do the session. So for funding reasons, it got canceled. I had a conversation with David Grendel, and he's saying he wants us to um, try again in 2018. He's going to set aside some funds, so we're going to try this again then. One of the things that I've asked Brian Shlevenko to do is we kind of want to set up a test run of this in the Light Lab next year. Okay, we want to set up maybe one console with a couple of lights, and maybe just try to set up some times just so we can do an experiment with this to see, sort of do a proof of concept. Because he said one of the problems was he couldn't get people to understand what we were trying to do. Okay, so that's why we're sort of hoping for a proof of concept. So that's sort of where we stand. The other interesting part, which I don't think I've said publicly yet, is after the lighting studio died for this year, Ron has put forward a proposal to. Autumn's laughing. Yeah, Ron put forward a proposal to um, have some show floor space that vendors can put light boards or sound boards into and do hour-long training sessions. So it's similar. It's not the same. Essentially, what they want is a place for them to do a sales pitch. What I proposed was, hey, let's combine the two, and let them do their hour sales pitches, but then in the other times, let us do our projects in there. And I haven't heard back since from since I put in that counter proposal. Essentially, what I heard was, though I do know that he has already reached out to vendors, and it looks like this is going to be a go without us. So I hope to pull Grendel aside and make sure that we still have the opportunity to do the lighting studio in 2018. How does this sound? What are you guys' thoughts on this? Is this something we still want to pursue? Anybody can jump in. Some of you guys are muted too, so you might need to unmute.
I mean, I think it's something definitely to pursue. Just if anything else, just to keep interest from year to year, as well as being able to test out ideas. It's also a great way to test out smaller ideas in a smaller venue that may go forward and become a light lab session.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Well, we also have the issue too where software changes and advances in LED lighting fixtures are changing so rapidly that a biennial light lab is so much has changed in those 2 years. You need something in the intermediate years just to keep current.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and really the key is, USITT is making a big push about improving programming, finding more ways to get pros in there, and offering hands-on opportunities is the way to do that. Okay. So like I said, I think this next year let's just push forward within Light Lab to try to find a space, and I want to try to sneak that in as best we can, whether we tell people we're officially doing that or not. But at least let us try out some of the. I know Light Lab committee was still going to work on putting together some of the training materials and move forward. Okay, cool. Next thing I want to tell you is lighting history. Last year we started we created our lighting our lighting history. I'm sorry, our lighting history VC. Andrea's taken that on. She's already started some things. And when we get to the conference, I'll let her do a full update. But we got an email about a month ago from USITT. They're creating a new history and heritage committee, and they were looking for a representative for that. William Kennan or Bill Kennan's going to head that up, and Andrea's going to be our representative on that. Do you know any more about that, Andrea, or anything else you want to add to that?
Right now, all that I know about it is that it's representatives from each of the major commissions that will be coming together, and for those that don't have a history person yet on there, it's somebody that they'll send forth, and our charge is to kind of blend everything together. So we're not our own commission. It's a working group within all of the commissions to help focus more on both our history as a organization, and then also the history of what we do throughout each of our commissions. That's what I know right now.
Okay. Sorry, I just got a text from Tracy. Evidently, our video call is full.
Aha.
Hey, you snooze, you lose.
I'll tell you what. Let me, Adam, I'm going to let you talk for a minute. You want to give us an update on the lighting graphic standards? And I'm going to send him a link to the video so he can watch.
All right. So after my lack of movement on it, I finally got a couple people to join on and agree to help out with this. One was Ken Billington, Rich Dunham, Greg Hilmar. I still have to have another conversation with Steve Shelley. And I also contacted Douglas Cox, who does the USA lighting design exams. So my first goal was to send out, what we have right now as the graphical standards, and just get a read on what each of these people who are in different areas of the profession, what their needs and what they see as being changes. And where I'm at right now is waiting to get things back, as well as having a couple conversations with a couple of them about the fact there is no remuneration for this, and that this is a, from the heart type thing for them. That's where I'm at. My goal is that I have at least, my original goal is to have an internal draft by conference. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but I definitely want to already have a large amount of comments and suggestions on where it needs to go and where improvements or changes need to go, or if this is a antiquated document that needs to be scrapped or just left alone. So that's where I'm at with the lighting graphic standards.
Cool. Sorry.
Sorry.
I just turned on our feed. I'm going to send out a link real quick to everybody just so they can watch. And I'll let them add comments into the comment. I'll just keep an eye on that for questions and comments. Give me 2 seconds to do that. Let's see, let me go back to the agenda real quick. Andrea, can I ask a favor? Andrea?
Yes.
Can I ask a favor? Since you found, were you the one who found us online a second ago, or was that you, Adam, that found the live
Oh,
link?
no, I found it.
Do me a favor. Can you put it on there and just pause it and watch the comments? I'm going to tell people to put things in the comments if they want to throw something in.
Okay.
That works. Okay. The next update that I have is the lighting system diagram update. So sometime this summer, I mean, Adam and I were talking, and I'm like, I'll help out. I wanna take on the Lighting Graphics Network project. That was silly of me to think I could do that. So essentially, I started working on putting a committee together. I talked to Richard Cadena, and I got him on board. And that's pretty much where it stalled. I got busy, and then all of a sudden all this other stuff started happening in the commission, and I didn't get it going. So what I'd like to do is scrap what we don't have any progress, so I'd like to sort of reboot that this year. Christina Lewis offered to sort of help guide this up. She's our student rep right now, but I'd like to find maybe somebody else in the commission to work with her. Is anybody interested in sort of taking this on? I still want to be on the committee. I still want to be a part of this, but I can't lead it up. I can't try to get this project going and do all the other things I got to do. Anybody interested in helping out on that? I know.
I'll help out. I'm not sure if I can take the leadership on it, though.
Okay.
I mean, as we've talked, I'm still really interested in it. I just don't have, with the lighting graphics and other stuff, it's...
And that's something I want to talk to you about later, Adam. I think we want to find somebody to help you out too, so that you can sit back and sort of guide both projects,
Okay.
and not have to, because just doing it from scratch is hard and a lot of work, and we need somebody sort of like overseeing both. But again, let's just touch base at the conference. So help me get the word out. Let's see if we can figure out who might be willing to sort of take on this project and move it forward. Let me still ask: is it still something we want to do? I mean, this was my silly idea a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago. Is this something we still want to do?
I think it's interesting to look at, and was it Live Design? Or I think it was Live Design that just put out the all of the drawings and then also the line diagrams for all of their system hookup for whatever that big thing that just happened.
The halftime show?
That was it.
Yeah, because it had both sound and lighting on it, didn't it?
I believe so. And because they're doing a lot more of the graphical diagramming work, I think it's relevant, but I think there's also a lot of information out there that we can go through or people can page through.
Well, would it make sense to have somebody from the Sound Commission, because it is becoming more and more done in the sound world as well, to join in with this?
Maybe.
As well as a way to help spread the workload on it.
And we also want to get, and I reached out to Sound at the last commissioners meeting, and they're definitely interested in helping out a little bit. They're not interested in taking on the project, but And C Design is interested as well if we want to include projections in this.
Yeah. It'd be a good cross-commission endeavor.
Yeah, the key is getting people in other commissions to work on a project that's not theirs.
That's worked well in the past.
Okay. All right. So we'll just keep looking, and basically we can find somebody who's passionate about this project, who's not me. Love to see if we can get that going. The next thing is awards. I don't know why I'm duplicating this. Oh, well, I know why. The institute, we give out 2 awards. We give out the Barbizon Award and we give out the Distinguished Lighting Award. Something I want to investigate that I want to look into. We right now, like I said, Scott Parker's he's our awards coordinator, and I asked him to be a judge, and we had a few other people be judges. One of my former students was was actually up for it this year, so I ended up I ended up not participating in the judging because of that. But he gave me some feedback afterwards that was interesting. He said that some of the feedback he got for the Barbizon Award was on his resume, like the formatting of his resume, and he said essentially he talked to his professor about it too, which is he's at Carnegie Mellon, and they felt like a lot of the feedback they got was really outdated feedback. It really wasn't. It didn't reflect modern lighting at all. So I'm going to see if I can get a hold of the reviews and the judging, just take a look at that. But that might be something we're going to want, and I'll talk to Scott about, but we might want to quantify a little more and try to give a little more guidance on how to actually do those sort of feedback things. And it sort of bothers me that again, I don't know who the person was or what the comments were, but it might be good to try to figure that out. If you have idea of who judges could be, that would be something I would love to get to. But
is it something that we would want to have a rubric that follows through from year to year, or is a rubric that is developed for each year?
No, I think it's a rubric that we look at each year and decide who's judged before. Andrea, you have, right?
I have, yes.
Anybody else done that judging?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I wasn't on it this year, but I don't know.
It's kind of catch as catch can about, I did give some guidance this year. I did sort of the criteria for the award, but not a really good rubric, and I think we need to do that. But okay. Last update I have is on the Hemsley session. When was it? When did Rich come to us? Keep in mind you're muted.
It was probably before the new year even.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while.
He came to us early on and said that he was talking to Mark Stanley, and they didn't want to do. They've been disappointed in the turnout for the Hemsley session. They haven't been getting as many people, and they don't feel like they're being as effective. So they chose not to do a session this year, which was kind of an interesting thing. Our deal with Hemsley is we provide a slot, we provide travel for one full person, and then 3 people, we give them hotel and conference, and then Hemsley flies in the other 2 or 3 people. And we finally got it all worked out this year. It wasn't going to be actually part of our it wasn't going to come out of our funding for non-member travel this year, and then they decided not to go. Part of the problem, I think, was we had been scheduling them, well, at their request, they wanted to be scheduled Friday night or Saturday because that's when they could get their people in. And if you look at the numbers, the session numbers in Friday and Saturday just dwindled to next to nothing. So I think that was part of the problem. Did any of you guys get to see those sessions or attend those sessions?
I have in the past. I didn't see most of the one this past year because we had another meeting after. But of the sessions that I have seen in the past, they've always been very informative specifically for students, especially for trying to learn whether how to get involved in the industry as a whole, or more about their two programs that they provide. Both of them were really, really good. So I'm disappointed that it's not there, but I can understand.
What was the last session that they did?
They did a session last year. I don't remember the topic, I'm sorry. But I also remember that I had a meeting that I had to step out after introducing it.
A lot of times it's on being an assistant. A lot of times it's basically early career stuff. I don't know. I want to talk to Rich. Rich has been our coordinator with this, Rich Dunham. I'm wondering too if we don't want to think about giving them a little more guidance on helping narrow down sort of what we're looking for. The tough part is it's always a wild card. We don't know if it's going to conflict with any of our programming because they literally don't decide until January on what the subject's going to be and who they're going to bring in. So maybe we can work out something where we can have a little more input. I don't know, but I'm going to talk to Rich. We'll sort of see what's happening. So
I wonder if instead of a session, if we entertain the idea of it being a reception.
Sure. Where they could meet people, and yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, certainly one of the things we talked about when this first came up was just trying to figure out what it was they wanted from us, and then also what we wanted from them out of the deal, so that it was helpful to both sides. And what they want is to make sure that the students in particular know that that Hemsley exists, and what it is and how to get involved. And then I think because we're asking them to sort of fill a slot, I think there's also a little bit of baggage there because, yeah, they're trying to find somebody last minute to fill in, and then it's like, oh, and by the way, you're going to, you have to do an actual session as opposed to, just really talking about what Hemsley is. So, yeah, a reception or sort of more of a meet and greet, like half session about what the project is, and then, the opportunity to actually rub elbows a little bit might be useful.
One of the thoughts I had too was not next year, but maybe the year after. Andrea, do we want to do our history session on Gilbert, and then tie that in with them?
I think that would be a really interesting idea. I would love to see that done. His papers are all in Madison, and I know he's there's a lot written about him, and of course Mark Stanley worked with him so predominantly, and I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, something similar to Rush. You were involved in that session on Skelton. I mean, that was such a great session. So something like that would be good too.
And it would help promote their program, since it all circles around each other. I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, even if we give them commission time, even if we give them time to, at the commission just to talk about their session, or at the end, I think there's ways we can help. But okay, cool. Those are all the updates. Next thing on the agenda, I just want to have a quick conversation about improving the commission meetings, particularly the ones the public ones. One of the things that I think I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on last year was Dave's idea to make everybody introduce themselves. When he first said that, my heart stopped a little bit because I was afraid it was going to take up half the meeting, but it was great. And the thing I got was everybody said, wow, that was amazing. We got to know each other. The other thing that sort of popped out was that, in years past with all the leadership sitting up front, it was very much, we're the big leadership people sitting up front. And it just worked out this way that everybody was sort of dispersed out through the audience, and people felt like that was a lot more, made us a lot more approachable. So that's definitely something we want to keep. The big change that we want to do, and then I'll open this up to discussion, is we want to do more work in Commission 1 in narrowing down the programming list. So in Leadership 1, I want to come out of there with 15, 20 ideas we can take to Commission 1, get feedback, and choose after that. So Commission 2 becomes, and I think this was actually Autumn's idea, Commission 2 becomes a working meeting so that we already have assigned chairs at that point. And for those of us who've done programming, it's frustrating because you get your session chairs assigned, everybody scatters to the wind, and all of a sudden everything's done over email. But if we can pull them, everybody in the corner, and say, this is what programming is, you're going to chair this session, we can put the VCs with with their session chairs, and they can start brainstorming. Okay, so that's sort of our goal. That's how we want to sort of change the format just a little bit. What are your other thoughts? How else can we improve those meetings? I want them to be something people want to come to, not they have to come to.
I think last year with everybody introducing themselves helped a lot to make it feel more inclusive. Because I know in the past it's felt like a club, and I think it just worked out a lot better and a lot more, because it just felt like last year's commission meetings, a lot more people hung out afterwards and wanted to talk to people. And I think it's just continuing with that, and the idea of us not all sitting together helps a lot. And making it more working, that it's not just sitting there telling people what's going on, and that actually giving them more input during that first meeting, I think is going to help also.
Yeah, I think, Todd, you described there about having it where people are a working meeting for the second meeting. I think will make people feel like they're more involved in the commission, because they are going to be more involved then.
Okay. Hey, Darren, what do you think? I haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah, I think those are all great ideas, and I agree that last year was a lot less stuffy than it had been in past years without the board and everything sitting up front as well.
Okay. Well, listen, if you have thoughts and ideas, as you can tell, I'll show you. I'm already working on the agenda and trying to figure out a way not to make it so we're not doing a million things. But let's see, where am I at?
One of the other goals I think we should have just as leadership, when we go to that commission meeting, like everyone should go, and the introvert in me is screaming out loud, but everyone should go, introduce themselves to 2 new people at least, and just, right, because, we only really get to see each other once a year, so part of it is like, oh, I get to hang out with my friends, and this is the time that we're all together, but at the same time, in order to get that inclusion, and build those relationships, I think we've got to reach out, especially to the people we don't know, and some of the younger people that managed to come to the commission meeting for the first time.
Another thought I had too, I'm kind of disappointed in who isn't coming to the meetings. Does that make sense? I'm going to text Tracy one thing. Okay. I feel like a lot of the major players in lighting who are at the conference aren't showing up. I'm going to try to reach out to a few people that I know of. I'm going to ask you guys to do the same. If not to, somebody who, I'm not asking you to go, all of us to go to Richard Pilbrow and say, hey, come to our meeting, but think of 2 people we should invite and just reach out to them and see if we can get more people. Like Rich Dunham's always good about coming. We used to be on the board. I know Linda Essick comes whenever she can. But I think we just want to start reaching out to more people. I don't think Tipton's going to, she's not going to be there this time, when she's not coming until later. But try to get some more of these heavyweights there, just to get them involved and get their voice as well. Because it's been a lot of the same people. I think we can try to get some new, not only new blood, but some of the old blood back. Be good. So cool. Any other thoughts on commission meetings, making them better? Cool.
There are a couple of comments off of YouTube. Sorry, it just finally updated on my page. So we just need to be careful when new folks come in, if they feel a little shut out when programming is already set.
That's my fault. Sorry.
That's okay.
Keep going, Andrea.
So we need to think about what we're asking for as far as input at that time. That's a note from Tracy.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about programming in a second too, Tracy, and making this process better. Um, Someone asked about the Polikoff meeting. Yes, we're still doing the Polikoff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Here, hold standby.
A volunteer on the graphics. That is good.
Yes, Christina, you're definitely going to be involved. I just want to get somebody else with you, to help on that. And actually, Christina, at some point, I got to talk to you. I got to talk to you about next year too. Oh, that's Streeter. Okay. Okay. Let me get these back out of here. Sorry, we for those of you watching on YouTube, it wasn't refreshing our comments immediately, so we didn't realize you guys. We're just gonna I'll keep Andrea and I are watching these. We'll just keep refreshing as we go. Thank you for coming though, by the way. And I have to stop hitting the play button. That's what makes the repeat sound. Sorry about that. Okay. Moving on. VC duties and responsibilities. All right. I want to make one slight change to our process, and it's something we did a few years ago, that Vicky did a few years ago. How the leadership gets chosen is I'm essentially, the commissioner is essentially chosen by the previous commissioner, and then that's put forward to the board of directors, and then I'm approved. I get a 3-year term. Then all of you guys are on a 1-year term, and every year I have to put forward a list of who that's going to be. I want to make one slight change this year. A couple years ago, Vicky instituted in the manual. I was trying to find it today and I couldn't. But she had us do nominations or self-nominations, and I want to open that up to the whole commission to either nominate or self-nominate for positions. Because the way it was done last year and handled last year wasn't the best, which is, I went through and I talked to people, and it was also weird too with Dave stepping down on sort of what that whole process was, because it was weird about what he was going to help with and what he wasn't going to. But I want to make it cleaner, more transparent. I want everybody to get a chance to nominate. I'm asking for what your name is, contact information, and I'm asking this year. I just want 2 or 3 sentences, a paragraph on why you want to serve. And then what I'd like to do is I'd like to have those by, right now tentatively I'm saying April 15th. And again, I'm going to make this announcement like 3 or 4 more times, so don't feel like you have to remember this today. And then I'm going to sit down with my new associate commissioner, and we're going to hammer these out. Which brings me to the next part is the only position that is solid is definitely Autumn has agreed, thank God, to come on board to be my associate commissioner. I just felt like the transition last year was way too fast to sort of pick somebody, so I appreciate you guys letting me do this, but I clearly took on way too much, so having somebody to split things up. She and I talked a little bit, and I think she had some great suggestions, which is she's going to handle sort of the programming part of it and communications, not do those positions, but supervise those. I'm going to take care of budgeting, awards, and projects. I will say this, Andrea, though, is going to continue as the VC of history because we put her up for the she's committed to that committee for a year at least. That's the only one that's going to be solid. But everybody else, just put in your stuff. If you have questions or comments or want to talk to us privately about what you're interested or why you're interested in doing it, it's not that we're talking about making big major changes. I just want to be a little cleaner, a little more transparent. I want to make sure people want to do this. There have been a few people this year that I just haven't heard from, and I don't know. And it happened in the past too. A couple of years ago, we had a VC of communication who literally said, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it at the conference," and not a word, didn't even come to the conference the next year. So I'll give you that form. Questions about that? Does that make sense? Does that seem fair? I don't have to change that either. So what do you guys think?
That seems fair.
Okay.
I agree. It's something looking in from the outside that we've got to make sure that we have people who actually want the positions and not people that are going to ghost out as soon as the conference is done, and that's something that I've noticed in the past couple of years as well, just as a newcomer in.
Okay.
Something to add, I think one of the biggest things is the descriptions of the positions. I think are going to be important for people who new people who want to get involved. So really being clear on what the definition of the position is and the role, and making sure they can access that in some way. I think that's going to be huge for new individuals who want to be involved, so they know what they're getting into, obviously. So keeping that on their radar.
Okay, and that I can easily do. Because I've got that fun links page I have has a link to the commission manual. Yay!
Mm-hmm. But some
yeah,
people just get access to that.
But yeah, no, and you know what? I'm gonna put that on that form.
Good.
So they can look at that, and I can actually probably link it directly to that page. That's why. Okay, you guys rock. Thank you. Hey, Andrea, I have lost my comments.
Okay, I'll refresh.
Can you see? Okay. Let me go back to the agenda real quick. All right. So I got some of the VCs here. We started the program of having VCs supervise or be more involved with the sessions this year. Is that working? Not working? I guess I'm probably just looking at Josh, aren't I? And Andrea.
I think the intent is working pretty well. I think it's something that we're going to need. We're going to need to continue for a little bit just to see how to finesse it and how to get better at it. But I think it's not something we should give up on.
Okay.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay. And I think if we can have that initial connection at Commission 2, if we have them assigned, it will be easier. It'll go and put a face to everybody's name. I know Tracy and Jim are watching. Oh, we have 11 viewers now. Woo! For those of you who are new, or just started watching, 12 people. Woo! We are watching the comments. Okay, CC, I see you're in there. We are watching. If you have thoughts, so any of you vice commissioners who were sort of supervising, let us know any feedback on how that worked this year. All right.
Did you see CC's comment?
I just give me just a second. I'm just going to read it aloud because I can't read it to myself and then there's dead air. Okay.
Okay.
CC says I arrived late. We have to mention the idea of mentorship program that was mentioned quite a while back. My area of research in mentorship. I would like us to discuss the possibility moving forward. If we get a chance today to talk about that, we can talk about that more. If not, we're definitely going to talk about that in Leadership 1. I don't know if that's made it to the agenda yet, but I will make sure it does. Or if I don't do it, Autumn, can you throw it in there for me? Because we definitely have some ideas. Essentially, what it is, and well, no, it goes back to getting people involved. Essentially, having a network set up, and maybe it's not a direct one-on-one mentorship. Maybe it's more of having a group mentorship. But as people come into the commission, sort of introduce them to a couple, kind of like Autumn was saying earlier, not just individually, but having a sort of a little more formal program where people could go and get help and just sort of have that personal connection to somebody in the commission. But definitely we'll talk about that more.
While there is a pause, Darren just texted me Comcast died for him, so that's why he disappeared.
Okay. So just so you know, those people watching YouTube, if you want to go back to that link, we have an open slot if you want to try to get in.
In addition, on the mentorship thought could probably be tied in with the VCs being involved with the programming, so that there's some sort of tie into that as well on certain things.
Okay.
Yeah, I had added at the end just sort of new initiatives that we're taking on. I didn't really call it mentorship, and it's definitely on the Leadership 1 agenda.
I moved it there. I'm sorry.
But we can take advantage of the communities that exist on the USITT website, and so trying to build communities, and sort of the one we were thinking about starting initially, just as a test place, was a women in lighting one, sort of based on the lean-in kind of circles, just as it's almost more of a forum, and certainly the Facebook group that exists for the women of USITT is very popular. So trying to actually shift that to lighting specific on our website, I think, would be really good. But yeah, we were going to talk more about that, I think, at Leadership 1.
So here's my other question pertaining to leadership. Are there any other changes? We have a lot more positions than probably any other commission. Here's the current list, okay, and it's a pretty big one. And I mean, just VCs. I think we have I think there was one commission that had more VCs than us, but as you can see, this is a pretty hefty list here. The Light Lab Committee obviously is huge. Are there any other positions we should consider not pursuing anymore? Maybe, or any we need to change? Any new ones we need? The one that I know we need is the commission's been asked to get more involved in Tech Olympics. I've sort of taken that on this year. It hasn't been too much work yet, but I definitely need to find a sort of a chair to head up Tech Olympics for our commission. What other position? What are your thoughts?
I think we might need definitely the Tech Olympics, but I think we also might need a second shadow or a second person on programming for 2017, perhaps.
Well, here's our thought on that. We're thinking about with Autumn being and correct me if I'm wrong here, sort of being the commissioner in charge of that that she's going to supervise that, just sort of help. Our other thought was we're going to name, and this is something else we need to figure out, is we're going to name a 2018 person, but we want to get them involved immediately when we get to the conference. So essentially have them shadow and be involved more in that year.
Yes, that kind of bunny hopping process was really good, I think.
Yeah, but more so because right now we've had 2 this year. It's worked relatively well, but it's 2 different people with 2 different schedules, so things never got out consistently. And you know, when one was in tech and one wasn't, and you know, and some got out better than others. So that's sort of why we decided to go back to 1 next year. But obviously, I mean, you've done it before, so I mean, we're open to anything. Autumn, what am I forgetting to say about that?
I mean, I think you covered it. It's really just, you know, again, 2 people, you've got 2, you know, in theory you have 2 sets of eyes on things, but ultimately the work gets split up, and then you're trying to not, you know, question a colleague and you know, just manage the sessions that you're doing. I do think sort of the bunny hopping, so that essentially if you become the VC of programming, it really is a 2-year stint. It's just that you are only actually in charge heading it up for one of those years. And the other year you're, you know, learning. And then, you know, if the current VC says, hey, I need help with this, then the expectation is that you will step up.
One of the things I want to mention too real quick on that nomination form, you can actually check more than one thing. So if you're interested in that, and for those of you who are listening here and on the YouTube, oh, hi Victoria. Victoria Fisher just checked in. She's on the YouTube, she's watching the stream. If you're interested in programming, please put that in, because Autumn and I were talking, and there's not well, we need to find out who's interested. Okay, keep in mind it's a big job. It's also what did you say, Autumn? Wrangling cats.
Yes.
It's kind of like wrangling cats. And Andrea, you would agree with that, right? That's really that's a lot of what it is.
It is. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of organization and a lot of emailing.
And by the way, the paperwork is going to get less.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
And I'll talk about that when we get into programming. It's definitely getting better. So please put that information in there. Also, if you're interested in programming, feel free to contact Autumn and I as well. And if you have told me that in the past, I mean, I remember many of you have a couple of you have said it to me, but please send it again. So we just got that request in again. Okay. Cool. Any other new positions we might need?
Hey, quickly, Todd, I just need to jump in here. I got a 6 o'clock meeting I got to take off to, so
Okay.
I'm gonna bow out here, and I'll follow up on YouTube later.
Okay. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for coming
All
in.
right. Yep. You bet. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All right. So those of you watching YouTube, if you click that link that I sent about a minute ago, one of you might be able to get back in. One of you might be able to sort of take that spot. So if we can get somebody else in here, that'd be awesome. If you click that link that I sent about a minute ago, one of you might be able to get back in. Now, Scott, or take that spot.
Yep.
So you just need to pause your video because now we're getting feedback.
Yeah.
That link that I sent about a minute ago. There we go. Okay. Hey, Scott. Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Cool. All right. Let's see. We're just finishing up with VC duties. Any other positions that we need? Okay. Cool. So programming brainstorming. We still thank you for those of you who have already put in suggestions. We now have 32 suggestions, so we're doing pretty good. Do you remember how many we had last year, Autumn?
Well, before or after the first day of the conference, because it seems like we always get a ton while everyone is sitting there.
Yeah.
I think we had 50 or 60.
Okay. So we still got some more to get then, people. I sent all of you that email on leadership. Those of you who are VCs, I expect programming is a part of our job. I expect you to put in ideas and at least put in a couple sessions. Those of you who are not VCs, please still put stuff in, please. We need lots of good ideas. The big thing that USITT is pushing for is they want to improve programming. They said to this that they practically beat this into our head at the commissioners meeting in August. They have a new program, and I completely forgot what the name of it was, but it was like the 2 to 4 something or other. Essentially what it is they want every session you go to that if you already knew the subject coming in, that you at least learn 2 new things. If you didn't know anything about that subject, that you walk out of there learning at least 4 new things. And if we all think about sessions that we've gone to, there are a bunch of them that I cannot say that. Okay. So that's definitely our goal. The other thing that I needed to say, that when it comes to your VC, your leadership duties, we need to go to the lighting sessions. It can get kind of disheartening. Well, light lab years are different because when we're in the light lab, it's hard because all the light lab committee's in the lab. But this is not a light lab year. We need to go to our sessions. We all don't need to go to every session, but we all need to show a good showing, even at the 8 a.m. sessions. Okay. And I think our only 8 a.m. session might be poster session, and then is there one on Monday? But we don't have that many. But so we need to go, and here's why. We need feedback. I need to know, we need to know, the VC of programming needs to know which sessions were good and which ones were not so good, because we need to find those session chairs that are putting out great content. And I'll be frank, most of you sitting around here are in your leadership position because you did great sessions, okay? Many of you I worked with my first time VC of programming, and so it also helps us pick out future leadership. How can we improve programming?
I have an opinion. I don't know if anybody can hear me.
We can, Scott. We're good. You're good.
Okay. I think that we need to improve. I think we can improve programming by opening up this process during our commission meetings at the conference, much more than it has been. It's been better than in years past. Before I got really busy with lighting, I was much more involved with the technology commission, and most of the ideas that pop up about those and the discussions that happen for the sessions there happen at the commission. And during one of the two sessions, and one of them's even catered. So it's just, I think that we need to open it up more. Because when I first started with the Lighting Commission, it was like, well, it's decided, and we decided, and we'll take your idea into consideration, but I haven't seen some ideas that I've proposed in the past. Not even in the backup lists or these documents that say, well, we're saving it in case we need it for a slot later. And I look for that, and I don't see some of them. So I think we need to open up the process to others.
Okay. The change for the process is National has a new. It's a program we've been using for a couple years. It's called A to Z. They will have a spot on their show, on the show page for 2017. They have a place you can go and you can actually submit ideas. They started to, roll it out this year. They didn't roll it out till this month, till was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I felt like we needed ideas before that. That's why we've got the list that you just saw a second ago going. I made the quick call this year not to promote their way of putting in sessions yet, but that's what we're going to switch to next year. Now here's the advantage, and this is the thing that's going to save us paperwork. We always would have to go in and put those sessions in manually to this program. Now if we just put everybody's suggestions in that program, all we have to do is say accept, 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 and it's going to slow the paperwork process down. I hear what you're saying, Scott. I mean, I got to say that was my frustration early on in the Lighting Commission as well. The tough part is when you have 12 slots, and right now we have 30 ideas. If we end up with 100 ideas, we're talking 10% actually make it through.
Well, I think part of the problem in the past has been a lack of transparency about why certain sessions were accepted and why others weren't, or why some were backbenched. I think if we're just a little more open with, because of the numbers or because whatever the reasoning being more open with that, I think that might help people feel more comfortable about submitting ideas with the knowledge that they may actually go forward, or they'll get feedback on what would make it a better session.
I agree with that 100%. I do know that in the Technical Commission, and I'm not trying to compare us with them, I just enjoy their process better. So this is my own personal feeling, is that during the first meeting, they would gather, hand out paper and say, no idea is, too strange or stupid or basic or advanced. Just write it down. And if you don't want to chair that session, that's okay. Just write down your ideas down, and we'll find somebody else who might want to chair the session. And that happened during the first meeting, and then during the second meeting, the stuff, they would sort of collate it and say, well, these 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 are very similar, so they mix it up into one. And then it's announced, and they say, Scott, you suggested this. Do you want to do it? No, I don't want to do it. But there's somebody more qualified than me that can do it, and they'd find somebody else who would chair the session. And it became wow, that's really exciting, because we all heard the ideas and we all discussed the ideas. And some folks are like, well, your idea is much better than mine, and I would love to help you. And I don't see that happening in the Lighting Commission.
I guess my concern is, how do we do that without having to go through 100 ideas? I mean, I think I forget. I could probably look and see, but how do we get everyone's voice but still streamline the process? I mean, one of the things I can do and I will do is I'm going to explain the process better, I think, and just sort of let people know what our process is, because right now it's in Leadership 1 we're going to start to sort of come up with a shorter list. Obviously still I'm debating on whether or not we should take more ideas, but we always have. We should take a few more ideas from the crowd, see what they're interested in, see what they're not interested in, and then actually come up with a list after that meeting.
Well, I guess the concept, if there's a list of ideas that's on a poster board or something in the room, and somebody has an idea that's like it, they say, oh, well, that's actually the idea that I had, so I don't need to submit it. So you're cutting out a lot of them It's public knowledge when you walk in the room.
I could post the list. I could post. I could. I don't think there's any sensitive information on there. So literally, when they're walking in, I could have that list up and say, "Come up front and take a look at some of our ideas already." And then when we get to that portion, say what's missing from this list.
Yeah, I know you did that last year, and that seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah, because last year you did the links that you projected at the top of the meeting for people to look at. I mean, sometimes that's a little bit difficult to get to in that space with the internet connection we had then. So it might be helpful to have a printed version that's available also.
Okay, hold on, let me write that down. Because I got a big printer, I can print that sucker on 3 feet wide by whatever.
Something else we might look at is now that National has our new website put together for us, that we can develop that into our own, however we want to get that laid out, see if we can get it laid out as much as possible before conference and promote that at conference, so that way as we move forward into the next years, if we have the structure printed out on a 3 foot wide by however long piece of paper, then as we go forward, then if this is also posted on that site, on that USITT national site, then throughout the year people can be seeing it and people can throw out new things that they're researching or that they're interested in and all of that.
The problem's going to be when we switch to this new system, we won't be able to publicly put those up. Is that right, Autumn? Like I could put this Google list up.
Yeah, well, actually, I think when you input it, you can, because you have to make a login. So I think you can always see what the list is. I just don't think everyone can approve. And part of where the sort of shifting of dates has come from as well is just trying to make the programming better in general. And so, you know, there certainly is conference fever that occurs, and everyone in that room all of a sudden, because they've been to a couple of sessions, get very excited about, you know, 10 different things all at one time. And it's not that they're not valid and useful, but it also, we've got to have a way to actually maintain and track things. So because A to Z is going to be in place for next year and will be up and running, because we're going to sort of go through it the hard way this time around, the idea is to sort of, you know, in October, via Sightlines and via the website, which we really got to get people using the website, is to, you know, think about who our constituencies are, and really think about programming that applies to all of the different constituencies, right? Because I want something very different for my students than what I want to go see. And then once we've identified who all of our constituencies are, then actually go through and propose things for those people in particular. But that can happen way before the conference happens. And then, yeah, everyone can see it. And those are discussions that can happen on the website. That's what it's built for. And that's why those communities are useful. But we have to start having those conversations there as well, which is just a shift that we haven't done yet.
Yeah. Okay. Other thoughts? Russ, I saw most of your message and then I missed like the last little bit of it. It went away just as I was finishing reading it. Russ was just saying his mic isn't working. So, okay. Sorry, now could you all read that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we were talking about ways we can get better. We just had the conversation about sort of how we can get better ideas. How do we make the sessions better? How do we make sure we're getting that quality?
One of the first things that occurred to me, and I'm trying to do in looking at panelists, is like figure out who is the rock star that you want to be on that panel? Who is the person that you think you couldn't possibly get? And ask them. When we did the Women in Lighting session, actually, thanks to Anne for actually giving me the hookup. I was like, I think it would be awesome to have Killy Noble on that panel. Right? Like, I think she is a rock star. I want her to be there. Ultimately, her schedule didn't allow it, and that we found that out in, I think, February. But we almost had her on that panel because Victoria Fisher and I sat down and sort of went through, like, who could we never get to do this? Let's shoot there. And I think we need to think big in that way, especially to compete against other conferences that people can go to.
Okay. Cool. Any other thoughts? I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. All right, Tracy just sent me a text. Hold on, let me see what Tracy's saying. Let's see. Oh, he's gonna have to run. He'll check the comments later. Cool. Hey, thanks, Tracy. We'll see you soon, man. Okay. Well, that was a big help. Before we get to the leadership meeting, I'll make sure I'll send out that link to make it more fun, Scott. Really, I don't want this to be fun. Yeah, no, you're right. And it's, well, two things that need to happen in my mind. One, clear learning objectives, and I hate that term, and I hate the fact that, that this whole
Yeah, no, you're right.
academic thing.
And it's, well,
Hey,
two
Susie,
things
you got to
that
shut the
happen.
video off. I'm going to mute your mic for a second. But it's true. We need to have clear learning objectives. What do we want to get from this conference or get from this session? And
Shut our video off.
I apologize. There was something else I was going to, but
Um,
learning objectives is one thing. Hey,
But
Cece.
it's true. We need to have clear learning objectives.
Oh.
What do we want to get from the?
Hey, Cece, you got the video running, so it's feeding back through our system. You just got to pause that video. So just unmute yourself when you pause that other video. I'm going to give Cece a chance to jump in here if she can.
Just unmute yourself when you pause that other video.
I'm trying to do that. Did I get it?
Hey, there you go.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I
No?
want to give Cece a chance to jump in here if she can.
You can also mute the YouTube video.
Yeah, the one you were watching, you have to mute. Hey, thanks, Herman. How are you guys doing that chat, by the way? That's, of course, the guys who can't talk.
On the upper left of your screen, next to the word Google, there's a little blue chat
Okay.
thing.
Okay,
You click on that, and it opens up a group chat on the right side.
there we go. Okay,
And
now
then
I
you
can
type
see.
in the bottom window on the right.
Now
Did
can
I
see
get my
everything.
thing worked out?
Yes, we don't
Okay.
have anything anymore.
Sorry about that.
Any comments so far, Cece?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Let me just get acclimated here.
Okay. All right. Last thing I had on the agenda, I won't keep you guys much longer. New initiatives for the commission. What else should we take on? I still have my wild dream. We need a projections commission, but I don't know. Lighting system diagram. I just left that on there. So let's let me reshare my screen. But also mentoring project. That's something else we want to start up. What other projects do we need to take on or start thinking about? Don't everybody talk at once.
Are we involved in making our website better, or now that they've changed over to the new configuration, does that fall on us or does that fall on them?
What you see is what I designed. So yes, we have access. What do you want to make better?
Oh, no, I was just curious about things such as listing all of the commissioners used to be on there. It wasn't on there last time I looked, but that was a couple of weeks ago. I haven't looked to see where the links are. Just general information like that.
Am I sharing my page? Yeah, here we go. Here's our current one. I did have to stick to their formatting. And yes, you're right. Leadership only shows Autumn and I. And I need to find out how to fix that. I just need to get a hold of National and figure out where we go to make that better.
A bunch of the other commissions also only show the 2 commissioners.
I think it's a problem with their system, and they're still working out bugs on this thing. I got lucky. I cornered Grindle after our August meeting, and he gave me early access to it, so I got to design this before anybody else, and everybody else started to model sort of what we did off of them. Originally, all they gave us was, it was literally like these 2 links right here was all they gave us. It wasn't much, but feel free to send me feedback about what else should be on there, what shouldn't be on there. And Andrea, if I can't fix that, I'll come up with a public version of that list I showed you guys earlier.
Okay.
And put that on there. It may not happen until after the conference, but yeah, I'll definitely work on that. How should we be serving the industry?
Which industry?
Lighting. Entertainment lighting.
In what market?
Well, in all the markets. Well, theater for sure. I mean, that's our main goal. But are there other projects like the graphic standards? Like, what else should we be doing? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you time to think about that. Okay, that's something I think I want to save for leadership too. When we get there. Okay. But I think we definitely start, and I'm not saying we have to do anything else. I'm just saying, and I think some of that too. I'm going to start thinking more about goals and sort of what our mission is, and I think if I can define that better, that's going to help answer that question. So I'll start working on that before March as well. So that was what sort of our list was for today. Autumn, was there anything else I missed that did I move with something you would put in there?
Nope. We got it.
Okay.
Sorry, the reason why I asked what market and such is because I've sort of changed and morphed out of theater lately. I've taken a job. I'm now director of lighting for an event staging company, which is very interesting. In how they want stuff done differently than what I'm used to as far as theatrical events, even though an event is an event. But no one in my company has heard of USITT, and I've found that a lot of I've been finding that working with the local union here in Philly, a lot of folks are not theater, they don't have theater backgrounds, though they're stage hands and such. So it's an interesting new view that I have. There's a cat.
Oh, sorry. Well, I think that's absolutely true, and that's why, as part of programming, we really want to start thinking about who our constituencies are, because it is very different. And so we want to make sure that we have programming that speaks to, I mean, we're not going to be able to speak to everyone, but I think if we're missing that piece, and if we aren't actually communicating with that part of the industry, if we don't have a link there, then we need to try and make it better. And yeah, I think that's a huge goal.
And it's interesting because we spend a lot of time, or I know those of us in education are spending a lot of time getting our theater students to know that they can, take their their tools that they're learning in the university and apply them to all those other types of fields. So it makes sense that if we're prepping them for that, then we need to reach out to those industries and prep them, what I mean, or to get them, interested in us and have those connections, I guess.
And I think that in future programming, that's something that can be, we may want to look at aiming at that, is bringing in sessions about areas that we haven't talked about, that aren't connected to the theatrical, to start connecting and integrating and cross-pollinating between these different areas that all have the same technology, same lighting design, but are, theater, event, trade show, all these different areas, and try to integrate them a little bit so that the different areas get to know the different areas.
Okay. Also, Jason Banks put on YouTube. In terms of serving the industry, we need to be more proactive about leading young professionals leaving school to job placement assistantships. That was another thing he suggested. Just want to throw that in real quick.
Well, I found it interesting. This comment may be telling and could be very interesting, though it's kind of sad given the audience I'm about to mention it to. But many of the companies that I've been talking to lately are looking to hire people before they're trained in university.
Why is that, though?
Because they want to train them to do some of the work that is not necessarily being taught to be a lighting designer, more having to do with being a technician and or electrician, bringing more of that the technical background into the party without feeling belittled. Like, having some folks come in and say, well, I'm a designer. Yeah, but I need you to hang lights and just point it that way, no gel, turn it on. The camera needs to pick up the performer, and that's what we're doing because we're streaming video today. So there's I've found myself in a boat where I'm designing light plots, but I'm not even in the theater when the show goes up or it gets teched. I give it to a programmer and I say, here's your gear, and hopefully they'll use the colors I thought of, but it doesn't always happen. So it's kind of interesting. But I'm looking for folks that may or may not have a lighting design background.
Yeah, one of the sessions I put in, actually probably one of the first ones on the list, is if anyone ever read the Jim on Light blog, he put out something, is what you're teaching relevant?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't agree with a lot of what he said, but a lot of what he said is true, and I think it speaks to sort of what you're talking about too. Is what are we training? Are we training designers? Are we training technicians?
Mm-hmm.
And are we teaching them enough of what they need to know to get out there? That to me, actually, I think would be a great session to start having that conversation. But then that leads into sort of what you're saying too, Scott, which is I think that can also inform us on how we as a commission can help. Cool. Real quick, I just want to let me start this conversation real quick, and then we'll let everybody go. Jason also put in the YouTube comments he's completely on board to help develop a projections commission, and anything he can do to help. And he agrees with Autumn about knowing our constituency. If you just notice, I added that to our leadership meeting about to have that conversation later. To start figuring out what that is and who we're really serving, and that's going to help us figure out what we need to serve. But and also, he wants to see a projections lab become a part of the cycle, and I don't disagree with that. I think I don't disagree with that at all. Unfortunately, we're going to need several labs, I think, now, because, but we need it because we need to start doing more hands-on stuff. Any thoughts about a projections commission since he brought that up?
I have a thought. I don't know. I'm not sure if I was a projection designer whether I'd want to be lumped in with the lighting designers.
Well, the thing is, they have no home now because architecture does projection stuff. Scenic design does architecture stuff. As a matter of fact, scene design has a commissioner just like we do for they call it multimedia and stuff. So. And Jason is our current projections VC. So.
Mm-hmm.
Does that become almost a separate commission, sort of like safety and health, right? Which basically pulls from everybody, right? I mean, every other commission is represented in there, and is sort of.
I think it should.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Agreed.
Well, I think the institute itself may need to have a projections commission separate from us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see as well. I'm sorry, I'm reading Jason's. Jason's got a new comment here. Let me just pull it over here so you guys can see.
I find our standards quite funny sometimes.
Well, let's be clear. They're recommended practices. They're not standards. And those of you who didn't hear the part of the conversation at the beginning, we are reworking the lighting ones, the graphic standards.
And we are trying to include people from various different elements of the industry, not just education or local one, or USA, but all of them, like different, from electrician world as well, because obviously they're the ones, master electricians are the ones using the plots to do the hang. So it's not just about the designers, not just about one area. It's trying to get it so that it is a better mix of industry.
And Adam and I have been talking a lot about this, particularly this summer, and a recommended practice that truly talks about CAD and suggestions on how to make CAD stuff look good is huge. Okay, cool. Well, thank you guys. Does this work? Do we want to try to start doing this more in the future? Maybe do more in the middle of the year? I got to find out a way to get more than 10 people, but cool. Well, if anybody else doesn't have anything else to say, I'll give you guys another second to think. Then why don't we go ahead and sign off? I tell you what. Like I said, I'll post the link to the YouTube video. I'm going to edit out like the first 20 minutes of me just sitting there. And actually, it wasn't that long. Maybe 5 minutes, and then Andrea and Adam popped in. And if you have thoughts, keep posting them in the. And like I said, I'll send out the YouTube link. Keep posting your thoughts in there. Keep posting your comments in there. And just so you know, the next time we will meet, for those of you who can be there, we're going to meet at Tuesday at 7 p.m., 7 to 8:30. We're going to try to get all this great work done in an hour and a half. We're going to be in the night boardroom, whatever that means. We've actually got a room that we're going to be in, and that'll be at the convention center. So come seek us out and find us then. So, well, cool. If there's nothing else, I'll see you guys, man, in like less than a month. Woo!
Thanks.
Cool. Hey, Autumn, can you stick on for like 2 minutes?
Yep.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, thank
Bye,
you.
all.
Appreciate you. Thanks, everyone watching in YouTube land.
Thanks.
See you later.
Yep.
Bye.